simple story with a powerful message. This is the journey of a young shepherd named Santiago, a boy who dares to follow his dream when most people would ignore it. This is not just a story about travel. It is a story about purpose. And about listening to your heart. Santiago, a young shepherd, lives a simple and peaceful life in the rolling hills of Spain. Each day is filled with familiar routines, tending to his flock, watching over the sheep as they graze, and traveling from village to village. He enjoys the freedom that comes with his nomadic life, feeling the wind on his face and the sun on his back, living close to nature, and observing the small miracles of everyday life. It is a life of quiet contentment, but beneath this peaceful surface, Santiago senses a yearning, a quiet longing for something more. One night, that sense of longing takes a vivid form in the shape of a dream. Santiago dreams of a hidden treasure, buried far away near the pyramids of Egypt. The dream is unusual and strange, but at first, he dismisses it as nothing more than a passing thought or a trick of the imagination. Yet, when the same dream repeats itself night after night, Santiago can no longer ignore it. The dream awakens in him a sense of curiosity and wonder, prompting him to question whether it carries a deeper meaning. Santiago's experience illustrates an important truth about life. Sometimes, the universe communicates with us in subtle. A dream, a coincidence, or a chance encounter may seem insignificant at first, yet these moments often hold clues about our path. If only we are willing to notice them. The choice to pay attention or to stay comfortable and ignore the signs is a pivotal one. Encouraged by his recurring dream, Santiago decides to seek guidance. He visits a fortune teller, an old woman who listens carefully to his story. With quiet conviction, she confirms that the dream is real and meaningful. She tells him that he must travel to Egypt, for that is where the treasure lies. For a young boy who has spent his life in the safety of familiar hills and meadows, this advice is both thrilling and frightening. The idea of leaving home, venturing into the unknown, seems impossible, yet the pull of the dream is undeniable. Santiago's journey begins with a choice. He could stay with the safety of his sheep, returning to the life he knows, comfortable in its simplicity. Or he could take a leap into the unknown, trusting that following his dream will lead him to something greater. This moment, simple yet profound, is the start of Santiago's personal transformation. It is a lesson that resonates beyond the story. Growth begins when we take a first step toward the life we truly desire, even when the path ahead is uncertain. By daring to consider the impossible, Santiago opens the door to adventure, discovery, and self-realization. His dream is not merely about gold or wealth, it represents the deeper longing of every human heart, the desire to find meaning, to follow a purpose, and to embrace the journey of becoming who we are meant to be. After deciding to pursue his dream, Santiago encounters an old man who introduces himself as a king. This meeting seems unusual at first. How could a shepherd boy in a distant town meet a king? Yet, this encounter is one of the most pivotal moments in Santiago's journey. The king listens patiently as Santiago explains his dream, then shares a concept that will forever change the boy's understanding of life. The idea of a personal legend. A personal legend, the king explains, is each person's true purpose in life. It is the destiny that belongs uniquely to them, the calling that gives meaning to their existence. For some, it may be discovering a treasure; for others, creating something beautiful or making a difference in the world. The king emphasizes that following this calling is not merely a choice, it is a responsibility to oneself. To ignore it is to live a life of regret, never knowing the potential of what one could have become. Santiago listens intently, absorbing every word. The king warns him, however, that pursuing a personal legend is never easy. Most people abandon their dreams because fear convinces them that comfort is safer than risk. Fear of failure, fear of ridicule, and fear of the unknown often prevent individuals from stepping onto the path of their true calling. Yet, the king encourages Santiago to overcome this fear. He tells him something remarkable: when a person genuinely desires something, the entire universe conspires to help them achieve it. This idea seems almost magical, yet it plants a seed of hope and determination in Santiago's heart. The king does not offer a path free of obstacles. Instead, he teaches Santiago an important principle: clarity of purpose brings clarity of action. By committing to his personal legend, Santiago can begin to recognize the opportunities, signs, and lessons that will guide him. The dream of the treasure is no longer just a fanciful vision, it becomes a symbol of his purpose, a challenge to be met with courage and persistence. With this guidance, Santiago sells his flock of sheep, marking the first tangible step toward his destiny. The decision is not easy. It represents leaving behind familiarity, comfort, and the life he has always known. Yet, the excitement of following a dream, combined with the wisdom of the king, fills him with courage. This moment captures a universal truth: meaningful journeys begin with a single courageous step. By introducing the concept of a personal legend, this part of Santiago's story teaches one of life's most powerful lessons. Purpose is not discovered in comfort, it is realized through action. courage, and faith in the unseen. The king's words resonate far beyond Santiago's journey, reminding every listener that dreams are not random, they are invitations. Every person has a calling, and the first step toward a fulfilled life is to recognize it, trust it, and pursue it wholeheartedly. Santiago embarks on his journey to Egypt full of hope, excitement, and the thrill of following his dream. Yet, almost immediately, he faces the first true test of his courage and determination. Shortly after arriving in a foreign land, Santiago is robbed of all his money and left alone in a bustling city where no one knows him. This moment is jarring and frightening. The world suddenly feels harsh and unforgiving, and the dream that once seemed so promising now appears distant and uncertain. This challenge reflects a universal truth. The moment we commit to our dreams, obstacles often appear. The universe does not promise an easy path, rather, it tests our resolve, patience, and commitment. Many people, when confronted with such adversity, would turn back, returning to the safety of the familiar. But Santiago chooses differently. Though scared and alone, he refuses to let fear dictate his actions. He begins to look for ways to survive, learn, and grow, understanding that the first challenge is always the hardest. Santiago finds work at a crystal shop, where he begins a humble but transformative chapter of his journey. The shop is small and struggling, and the owner is skeptical about Santiago's ideas. Yet, Santiago's creativity, determination, and willingness to learn gradually begin to make a difference. He reorganizes the shop, suggests innovative ways to attract customers, and brings fresh energy into the business. Slowly the shop flourishes. Santiago earns enough money to consider returning home, and for a moment the comfort of familiarity tempts him. After all, he has achieved financial stability and safety. Why continue into the unknown? Yet Santiago realizes that choosing comfort would mean abandoning the dream that first set him on this journey. He understands a critical lesson. Growth and purpose often lie beyond the familiar and safe. Returning home would feel secure, but it would not bring fulfillment or transformation. True progress, he realizes, comes from embracing uncertainty, learning from challenges, and continuing forward despite fear or doubt. This chapter of Santiago's story teaches several powerful lessons. First, setbacks are an inevitable part of pursuing meaningful goals. They are not signs to quit but opportunities to learn resilience, creativity, and problem-solving. Second, comfort is the enemy of growth. Staying in a safe, predictable environment may provide short-term relief, but it prevents us from discovering our full potential. Finally, persistence and action, even in difficult circumstances, build the strength and wisdom needed to continue the journey. Santiago's experience at the crystal shop also emphasizes the importance of patience and humility. Success does not always come immediately, and the first step toward a dream may involve mastering small tasks, learning from mistakes, and contributing to something larger than oneself. Through this work, Santiago begins to develop the skills, confidence, and awareness that will serve him on the more challenging stages of his journey. By facing the first true challenge and choosing to continue, Santiago demonstrates the courage required to pursue a personal legend. His story reminds us that every meaningful journey begins with difficulty, but it is through these early struggles that we discover our capacity for growth, resilience, and transformation. As Santiago continues his journey across the desert, he meets a young Englishman who is on his own quest for knowledge. The Englishman is different from Santiago. He relies heavily on books and study, believing that understanding the world comes from learning through texts and theories. He carries books filled with complex ideas about alchemy, the transformation of matter, and the pursuit of wisdom. At first, Santiago feels out of place among these scholarly pursuits, realizing that his own learning has been shaped by experience, observation, and intuition rather than formal study. Through their conversations, Santiago begins to understand a profound truth. Life constantly communicates with us, offering signs and symbols that guide us toward our personal legend. These signs are everywhere: patterns in nature, coincidences, encounters with people, and subtle feelings that pull us in certain directions. The challenge is not that signs do not exist, the challenge is noticing them, understanding them, and acting upon them. Most people miss these signals because they are distracted by the past or anxious about the future. They live their lives mechanically, without paying attention to the present moment where growth truly occurs. Santiago learns that reading the signs requires patience, awareness, and trust in one's intuition. It is a skill that must be cultivated gradually. The desert, with its vast horizons and quiet emptiness, becomes the perfect classroom for this lesson. There, Santiago begins to slow down, observe more carefully, and reflect on the small details of his surroundings. Every interaction, every occurrence, starts to take on meaning. Even the wind, the sun, and the shifting sands seem to carry messages meant just for him. The Englishman also introduces Santiago to the concept of alchemy, the idea that ordinary materials can be transformed into something extraordinary. This becomes a metaphor for Santiago's own journey. Just as metals can be refined and transformed, Santiago learns that life itself can be refined through attention, experience, and deliberate action. The signs he observes are like alchemical instructions, guiding him through challenges and helping him grow internally even when external circumstances are uncertain. By learning to read these signs, Santiago gains confidence in his ability to navigate the world. He begins to trust not only his mind but also his heart and instincts. This marks a significant turning point in his journey. He is no longer merely reacting to events but actively interpreting and understanding them. The process teaches him that transformation is as much about internal awareness as it is about external achievement. This part of Santiago's journey carries a universal lesson for every listener: growth requires presence. To achieve meaningful goals, we must train ourselves to recognize guidance from the world around us. Life offers clues, but they are invisible to those who are distracted or impatient. Observing, reflecting, and trusting the signals we receive allows us to make choices that align with our deepest purpose. Through this experience, Santiago begins to see the desert not as a harsh, empty place, but as a teacher guide that helps him refine his understanding, sharpen his perception, and strengthen his faith in the journey ahead. The ability to read signs becomes a vital tool, one that will carry him through the most challenging parts of his quest for treasure. During his journey across the vast desert, Santiago arrives at an oasis, a place of life and rest amidst the harsh, endless sands. It is here that he meets Fatima, a young woman whose presence immediately captivates him. There is a quiet strength in her, a calm understanding of life, and an openness that draws Santiago in. For the first time, Santiago feels a deep connection, a love that is both tender and inspiring. In Fatima, he sees a reflection of his own heart, a kindred spirit who seems to understand him without words. Santiago with a profound dilemma. He wonders, should he stay with Fatima and build a life together at the oasis, or should he continue pursuing the treasure he has dreamed about for so long? This question tests Santiago in a way that is different from physical danger or financial loss. It challenges him emotionally, spiritually, and morally. Love, he realizes, is not a distraction from his journey. It is a force that can either support his destiny or make him lose sight of it. Fatima, sensing Santiago's inner conflict, offers wisdom that changes his perspective. She encourages him to follow his personal legend. She tells him that true love does not demand sacrifice of purpose or dreams. Instead, love supports growth, nourishes ambition, and strengthens the courage needed to achieve one's goals. She reassures him that if their connection is genuine and enduring, he will return to her after fulfilling his journey. Her words remind Santiago that love and destiny are not opposing forces. They can coexist harmoniously when both are guided by trust, faith, and mutual respect. This lesson resonates deeply with Santiago. He understands that staying in the comfort of the oasis would provide immediate happiness, yet it would come at the cost of his larger purpose. True fulfillment, he realizes, comes from embracing both love and the pursuit of one's dreams. He begins to see that the people who support our goals do not hold us back, they help us become the person we are meant to be. Relationships, when based on understanding and encouragement, can amplify rather than hinder our journey. As Santiago continues to interact with Fatima, he learns another important principle: patience and faith are central to love. Real love does not demand possession or immediate satisfaction. It waits and grows, nourished by trust and respect. In this way, Santiago's relationship with Fatima becomes a mirror of his own journey. Just as he must interpret the signs of the world to move toward his treasure, he must also listen to his heart and understand the deeper messages of love and connection. Ultimately, Santiago decides to continue his journey, carrying the warmth and encouragement of Fatima with him. Her presence strengthens his resolve, providing emotional support that complements his growing understanding of destiny and purpose. Love, he realizes, does not conflict with his dreams, it enriches them, giving meaning to his efforts and courage to face future challenges. Through this part of the story, the audience learns a timeless lesson: true love is not about holding someone back or sacrificing dreams. It is about uplifting each other, trusting the journey, and recognizing that real connections strengthen rather than weaken our path. In love as in life, growth and purpose go hand in hand, guiding us toward the fulfillment of our personal legend. As Santiago draws closer to the pyramids, the physical and emotional challenges of his journey, the desert, once a teacher and guide, now presents dangers that are immediate and threatening. Bandits, harsh terrain, and uncertainty loom at every step. Fear, which had been a distant possibility earlier in his journey, now becomes a pressing, intangible presence. Santiago feels it in his chest, in his thoughts, and in the weight of every decision. This is the moment when the journey tests not just his skills, but the strength of his heart and mind. At one point, Santiago faces a situation that forces him to confront his deepest fears directly. He is challenged to perform what seems impossible: to transform himself into the wind. On the surface, this task is magical, fantastical, and even absurd. But symbolically, it represents the ultimate internal challenge, breaking free from limitations that exist only in the mind. Santiago realizes that fear is often an illusion, a creation of the imagination that prevents growth. To succeed, he must trust in himself, in the universe, and in the signs he has learned to interpret along the way. This moment of facing fear is transformative. Santiago understands that the greatest obstacles in life are not external threats, but the doubts, anxieties, and insecurities that reside within us. Fear magnifies the unknown, convincing us that retreat is safer than progress. Yet true courage, Santiago learns, is not the absence of fear, it is action in spite of it. By embracing the challenge rather than fleeing, he discovers an inner strength he had never known before. The desert becomes not just a setting, but a mirror reflecting the power of resilience and faith. In addition to personal courage, Santiago learns the importance of patience and observation during this phase of his journey. The desert teaches him that every element, wind, sun, sand, and even danger carries a message. By paying attention and responding wisely, he can navigate challenges with insight rather than panic. The lesson is clear: awareness and trust are as vital as action. Fear loses its control when met with understanding and clarity. Santiago's ability to face fear is also tied to his connection with the universe. The teachings of the old king and the lessons from the Englishman remind him that the universe responds to intention. When his goal is clear and his heart is aligned with his purpose, he is not alone. Even in the midst of danger, he begins to feel supported by forces greater than himself. This realization gives him confidence, transforming fear into a source of motivation rather than paralysis. By confronting fear directly, Santiago demonstrates a crucial principle that applies to every listener. Internal limits define the boundaries of achievement more than external circumstances. Growth occurs when we challenge ourselves to step beyond comfort zones, trust our instincts, and embrace the uncertainty of the journey. Every step taken in courage strengthens resilience, hones intuition, and brings Santiago closer to his ultimate goal. Through this chapter, the audience learns that fear is not a barrier to be avoided, it is a teacher to be understood. A signal that we are on the right path, and an opportunity to discover the hidden strength within ourselves. After a long and arduous journey across deserts, through challenges, and moments of self-discovery, Santiago finally reaches the pyramids of Egypt. His heart is full of anticipation, excitement, and hope. He believes that at last, he will find the treasure that has guided him across continents. Yet, reality presents an unexpected twist. Before he can claim the treasure, Santiago is attacked and robbed by a group of thieves. In that moment, the dreams of gold and jewels seem lost. His journey, it feels, has led him to nothing. But in the midst of despair, Santiago learns a final, profound lesson. One of the attackers, laughing at the notion of treasure, shares a story of a dream he once had, a dream about a hidden treasure buried in Spain, near a ruined church where a shepherd boy once slept. Suddenly, everything clicks. The treasure Santiago sought has always been back home, near the very place where his journey began. This revelation is surprising yet deeply meaningful. The journey, with all its trials and lessons, was never just about the physical treasure. It was about the transformation Santiago underwent while pursuing it. Returning to Spain, Santiago digs near the ruined church, exactly as the dream had indicated. There, he finds a chest filled with gold coins and precious gems. But more than the wealth, the true treasure is the wisdom, courage, and growth he has gained throughout his journey. The boy who once hesitated, uncertain of his dreams, has become a young man confident in his heart, aware of the signs of the universe, and courageous in the face of fear. The physical treasure is real, but its deeper value lies in the person Santiago has become. This final discovery teaches one of the most powerful lessons of the Alchemist. The destination is important, but who you become along the way is even more significant. Every challenge, every encounter, every fear faced has contributed to Santiago's transformation. Without the journey, the treasure would have been meaningless, because he would not have understood its value. Life, like Santiago's quest, rewards those who dare to follow their dreams, not just with tangible success, but with wisdom, resilience, and self-awareness. Santiago's story also emphasizes the importance of listening to the heart. The dreams, the recurring signs, and the guidance he received from mentors and loved ones all played a role in shaping his path. By staying true to his personal legend, Santiago discovered that life itself conspires to guide us toward our purpose, even if the lessons along the way are difficult or unexpected. In the end, the real treasure is the combination of experience, knowledge, and personal growth. Santiago's journey reminds the audience that pursuing a dream is about more than achieving a goal, it is about embracing the transformation that occurs along the way. Every risk taken, every fear confronted, and every lesson learned contributes to the richness of life, and to the fulfillment of one's true destiny. Santiago's journey comes full circle, not just in the location of the treasure, but in the transformation of his spirit. The boy who once feared stepping into the unknown has become a man who understands that the journey itself is the greatest reward.